Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's edition of Right Think. And I have a fantastic guest with me this week on this show, and this is Nick Ward, who is the CEO of Gold Bullion Partners. And it's great to have you on the show. How's things going, Nick?
Yeah, very, very well. Thank you, David. It's a pleasure to be back on again. I know it's been a little while, but yeah, a lot's changed in the short term, particularly over the last couple of weeks. It's been a crazy market as far as precious metals are concerned. And that's basically because there's been a serious shortage of both gold and silver out there that the public can actually get their hands on. And I think that's going to have major ramifications on the wider market. It's almost like the canary in the coal mine, if you like. But I know you mentioned it to me as well, David. You probably noticed that the prices have been pretty wild lately.
Right.
Especially the big dips that we've seen in the last couple of weeks. But here's the thing. A lot of people cannot get hold of it, even when the price of it is being brought down so much. I mean, 6% in a week. So there's a ton of manipulation that's going on in the market. And that's thanks to government shutdowns and regulatory issues. The data that we rely on to understand these markets has become almost unusable. You can't use it at all. It's not accurate. So major markets like the LBMA, London Bullion Market Association here in London, the COMEX in the US, and even the Raw Mint who produce the coins, but they're pretty much out of metals.
I've seen on their site that, some of them are out of stock. So yeah, that seems to be true. Like for anyone who wants to get gold or silver, they can't get it.
No, they're trying to buy particularly gold sovereigns and silver Britannias, and there's just nothing there. And because of that, we're starting to see premiums skyrocket, sometimes doubling, even tripling from what's normal, as supply just can't keep up with this level of demand. I've never seen anything like this since COVID. David. So look, every wholesaler, every mint, every refinery that I speak to are running at full blast just to try and restock their existing positions. And wherever you go in the world, they're out almost everywhere. It's like the physical market is breaking in front of our eyes, really.
Is this because there's a huge extra demand from people who want to buy gold coins?
Yes, you know what? It's not actually so much from the retail public, David. It's the central banks, institutions realizing, okay, the global system's on its last legs. How are we going to protect ourselves? Silver, in particular, that's in a dire situation. So the mines throughout the world are producing far less than what's needed globally, by about 1 billion ounces a year. That's a huge deficit.
That sounds like a lot of ounces. That's like, I don't think there's enough for all the people who want it there.
Well, yeah, most of that silver actually isn't there sitting in vaults, David, waiting to be used. It's actually being consumed in industry, or it's buried in landfills. It's gone. It's been used up or destroyed. And this is the really interesting part that I've noticed in the last fortnight. Really, really interesting. The US military and government are actively stockpiling silver now. Right. So there's even reports that they're buying up all the acid needed to actually refine it. So they're basically getting ready for some big shortages or some kind of a crisis, who knows. But they've been funneling billions into critical minerals like silver to basically build their reserves and prepare for their future needs. So yes, gold's one thing, but silver is not only is it a monetary metal, obviously it's essential for all their military hardware, electronics, renewable energy, medicine, you name it. And that's why this month they've just added silver to their list of critical minerals. They need it for national security.
Yeah,
but you can see this. You can see this shortage with gold as well. But at the same time, it's just so disconnected from the paper prices that you see. So the big banks like JP Morgan, HSBC, Bank of America, Citibank, they're basically shorting the heck out of gold and silver with these massive derivatives positions. So they're trying to keep it as low as possible. But thanks to this regulatory opacity, if you like, opacity, we've got no idea how much shorting is actually happening and how much they've got left. We just don't quite know. We know there's hardly any of it left. They're keeping the price of it as low as possible. But the government and all the institutions at the same time are hoarding it like it's going out of fashion.
Look, I've heard this, that actually there's out of every ounce of silver there's about 400 people who believe that they own that ounce because there's all of these paper claims on it, which for a normal person like me, I'm not familiar with how derivatives and the market works. It sounds crazy. So, 399 out of 400 people who think they own an ounce of silver don't actually own it and won't be able to get it. I mean, how does that all work?
I know it's in the same way that the banks work, really. They only have £1 for every 100 that they lend out. They rehypothecate it. And that's what's worrying about having things like ETFs, exchange traded funds, that just follow the price of gold and silver. Great if you're a trader, but if you're looking for long-term safety and security, well, if the markets crash, it's not worth the paper it's written on. So, look, it looks like this manipulation that's happening at the moment is being driven down, but they're smashing the prices down to scare buyers or to hide really the actual shortage in the market. All the time, they're buying it themselves. Like easy to access things back in originally, like Britannia's and sovereigns, you just can't get hold of them. You notice most websites, they're completely out. And if they are selling them, they're going up at massive premiums because of this dwindling supply. Of course, when it breaks, well, you won't be able to get hold of it at all, and then it becomes a seller's market.
Right. Is it, will they be able to keep suppressing the price of gold and silver forever? Because it seems like something that has been going on all my lifetime, to be honest. And now it's pushing up against barriers of $4,000 an ounce for gold, $50 an ounce for silver. Is it going to break through and actually take off like a rocket, do you think, when finally people realize that the market has been manipulated and they can't continue to do that anymore?
Yeah. How long can they kick the can down the road? They've done it long enough. I thought this might happen over the lockdowns, but they managed to get out of it. What I can say is the supply of the real asset, real physical gold, real physical silver has never been this tight. I've never seen it like this. And I think this current manipulation I think it might be a last effort to keep prices suppressed before it all does blow up. Yes. And when that happens, you'll see it go up multiples. But if your audience haven't done it already, and I know a lot of them have, David, now's seriously the time, I think, just to consider getting a small position in, even if you haven't got any already, because I think a full-blown crisis can happen very, very quickly. You go to bed on a Thursday night, wake up Friday morning, market's crashed, and you can't get hold of any of it at all. So, yes, we've seen a big rally over the last year. It's up, over 50% year to date. And then he reached, $4,400 an ounce. After such a meteoric rise, a connection was obviously inevitable. But a 6% pullback that quickly was shocking. I don't think anybody saw that coming. And I get a lot of people saying to us when they're booking consultations or coming in to meet us, am I too late? Has that ship sailed? Is the rally over? Have I missed the boat? And no, nothing fundamental has changed. The drivers that have pushed up gold to these highs haven't changed. The Federal Reserve are going to cut rates again. There's a hell of a lot of geopolitical risk. US economic data is obviously absolutely terrible. So I think that dip is just the markets catching its breath, if you like. It's a healthy reset.
Yeah, even though it's gone down a little bit in the last month or so, it's still up 50% since the beginning of the year, and it looks like it's going up again right now. So it's still on its way up. It looks like it. And I know you made the point last time I spoke to you that actually, well, it's not so much the gold is going up, but all the other currencies are going down. The pound, the dollar, the euro are actually losing their value. And we can see that in terms of inflation. I mean, I think the purchasing power of gold does seem, obviously is going up now, but it's also the other thing is true. And if you put money into a current account or even a savings account in fiat currency, even with the interest they pay you, it's losing purchasing power. Do you see that as the reality of what's going on as well?
Absolutely, David. That's exactly it. I think people need to reframe the way they view gold. It's not a short-term investment that you're trading in and out of to make some fiat gain that's inflating away. There's no limit as to how much money they can print. And mathematically, they just have to keep printing and keep printing and keep printing until we see some form of financial reset. So people say, oh, well, gold's up too high now. Well, no, because then that means there's a limit on how much the banks are going to print. And there isn't. The only way they can get out of this debt trap is just to carry on printing. And you're right. People will keep their money in an ISA, maybe get 4% on it or their current account. And obviously with the new budget coming up, it's looking likely that cash ISAs are going to be smashed as well. The real inflation rate's probably closer to 18%. If you look at the way the CPI used to be calculated in the 80s before the government started massively interfering with everything that goes in there. So yeah, in 5 years' time, if you hadn't taken any action at all, the cash in terms of what it can buy is going to be worth less than half. And
I think every normal person can see that actually the real inflation rate is far, far higher than what they tell us. It's just a deception to say, oh, inflation's 3 or 4%. I mean, you just have to look at the price of like your basic groceries in the shop, which have like gone up, 50% at least since 2020.
Exactly that.
Can of beans, it's crazy prices.
And even with this pullback, David, we got a smash down by the banks, but then it went right back to $4,100 an ounce. So that's a sign of strength, not weakness. It's a sign that inflation is still extremely bad and it's going to get worse. It indicates this deep structural rot in the system. And obviously the central banks are buying it because they know the game's up.
So they know. I mean, do some of them think that we're actually going to be like the Weimar Republic with hyperinflation? I mean, we're not yet.
No.
And the pound, the dollar, the euros, they still have some value. That the value's gone down. But if they go crazy and they talk about helicopter money, President Trump has just said, "Oh, I'm going to give £2,000 to every person in America because of the money we've got off our tariffs." It just sounds completely ridiculous. But if he does that and just keeps on printing money, I mean, the US debt is now $38 trillion, and it's going up by about 3 or 4 trillion a year. In the UK, the debt is £3 trillion nearly, and that's going up by 150 billion every year. I mean, these are figures that are just nonsensical, and they continue to devalue the pound, and we could end up in hyperinflation if we're not careful. Do you see that as a possibility coming up?
Yeah, not in the short term, David, but absolutely it is a possibility. I really do. You look at our debt, it's growing monumentally. Every individual in the UK is now in about £180,000 worth of debt.
Right.
It's absolutely insane. So now the whole conversation is talking, it seems to be moving towards a revaluation of some kind. And I don't think that the US is about to do it tomorrow. We're not going to end up with hyperinflation tomorrow. But the Federal Reserve, actually, of all institutions, has suddenly started talking about it again. So that's caught everyone's attention in the market because the Fed doesn't just casually raise old monetary ideas for fun. They're very intentional with what they put into the public domain, if you like. So a few weeks ago now, they published a piece, David, looking at how different countries, so places like Italy, Lebanon, South Africa, how they've used reserve revaluations when they are under serious financial strain. And what was really interesting, what was remarkable, is the tone of the piece. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't warning people. It wasn't recommending anything. It was just really clinical, really calm, almost like they were saying, look, here's how this tool works, just in case anyone needs to know, basically. And what stood out to me wasn't that they said, well, it's not what they said, it's what they didn't say. They didn't tell the US government to do it. They also didn't say it would be a bad idea. They simply laid out the mechanics of it. And when central bankers speak like that, that's usually the first sign that an idea has moved out of the realm of total impossibility and into the realm of, well, look, okay, maybe under the right circumstances, we might do it. And that alone, David, is worth paying attention to. It's shocking. I just did not expect that at all.
So a revaluation of the value of fiat currencies, you mean in terms of what they're worth in as an ounce of gold? Is that sort of what they're thinking about? Yeah,
exactly that. Just to, I suppose, to explain it as simply as possible, the US owns, well, supposedly owns, that is, 261.5 million ounces of gold. And on the official books, that gold is still valued at £42.22 an ounce.
Right. That's a very old valuation.
Yeah, since the 1970s. But the real market price of gold today is obviously now above, what, $4,100 again. So that makes that means the true market value of America's gold is more than 90 times what the books say it is, basically.
Okay. Yes.
And when you work it out, that's over $1 trillion of unrealized value just sat there. So the idea behind this revaluation is pretty straightforward. The US could just say, okay, enough of this $42 nonsense. We're going to update the value of our gold to the real price. And in doing so, we could magically create hundreds of billions or even $1 trillion of accounting gains. Right. No gold moves. No, the golds don't open. Nothing physical changes. It's literally just a line adjustment on a balance sheet.
Okay. Well, it seems like perfect sense to do that, and it doesn't seem like very good sense to keep the value of gold at, $42 or whatever it was before. I mean, that seems ridiculous when it's actually now worth over $4,000 an ounce. I mean, so but that will be very, very good for gold. I think everyone would then realize, okay, well, gold. They talk about gold being remonetized, and for decades, people were really kind of bashed gold. They said, oh, it's a barbarous relic, it's from the past. But now I hear all this talk about it being remonetized, and that seems to go along with what you're saying, is that central banks and institutions are buying it up like there's no tomorrow. It's almost like they're racing to get as much as they can because they want to value their currency and base it and back it up by gold in some way. So
yeah, look, would it be a good idea for them to do it? I don't think so, because of course the Chinese, the Russians have got a hell of a lot more gold than they have, far more, and it may be more beneficial for them. You don't revalue your gold because you're strong. You do it because you're running out of painless choices, if you like. And that's why historically countries, they only reach for this tool in moments of real stress. And if the US did it, it would just be interpreted as a signal that kind of traditional fiscal solutions and taxation and spending restraint, not that there is anywhere on either side of the pond, but they just aren't enough anymore. And I don't think the Americans have got enough gold in order to do it. So look, they are diagramming it out, they're footnoting it, they're getting the public almost a bit accustomed to it, and they're showing other policymakers exactly how it works. But that tells me we're just getting closer to the edges of fiscal orthodoxy, if you like, than anyone wants to admit. It's crazy. And when they do it, who knows what price it could go up to. There's a chap called Clive Thompson that's run the numbers out there, Swiss banker. He thinks it could put it at $15,000 an ounce.
Wow.
And I think he was being relatively conservative with those numbers as well. So who knows?
I do hear a lot of bankers and a lot of institutions giving out these estimates, and they seem to be a lot higher than the prices now, whether it's $15,000 or even $5,000, $6,000. I think that's a very low ball estimate. But I mean, that actually means for the people who, you mentioned, some people say to you, is it too late because it's gone up 50% this year? But if that's the estimates coming out from people in the know, it's not too late, is it? I think for ordinary people, it's a good idea to just get a bit, and so that you've got, you're in it. And if the price does go up a huge amount, which it looks like it's going to do, you're going to be winning if you do.
Well, yeah, same thing happened in the 1970s. It went up 1,000% in just shy of a decade.
Wow.
So imagine it going up 50%. Oh, I'm too late now. And then it just carries on going and going and going. And of course, there's a huge question about the role that it's going to have in any new digital economy that we might be shifting towards as well. The onset of digital ID, CBDCs. How's it going to dovetail into that? Well, it looks like America have already got a solution to that at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, I must say I'm against all of that. But on principle, I don't like the idea of digital IDs and CBDCs. But it seems to be happening not from governments. Keir Starmer talks about brick card, which is a bit of a straw man. I don't think there's going to be a brick card. But things are happening in the cryptocurrency sphere of influence, with there's lots of things called tokenization and stable coins. And I'm not an expert on those things, but apparently it seems that gold and other assets can be tokenized, and then people can buy little, percentages or proportions of a real asset on the blockchain. I mean, what is that all about? What exists now, and what does that mean for people who are interested in buying gold?
And again, you and I both, David, that is a hill I'm going to die on as well. I will not be signing up to any form of digital ID whatsoever. It's a dystopian nightmare. But you're right. Yeah, we're starting to see this major shift towards digitizing and tokenizing everything. Assets, identities, money with a CBDC. There's no end to it. So basically, digital IDs and this tokenization of assets are being used to create a more interconnected, trackable financial system. But the key point is that gold has always been analog. It's something that's outside the reach of governments. And now it's starting to play a crucial role in this transition, which is slightly worrying. So yes, take Tether, for example, and just in case anyone doesn't know what that is out there, it's a stable coin in the US, just backed by the dollar. So the world's biggest stable coin issuer. Dollar peg coins. Now, they're starting to dive really, really deep into gold. They've been acquiring massive amounts of it over the last few months and storing it in Zurich. They're actually buying more than China every month.
Wow.
So it seems like they're hedging their bets by building a bridge between the digital world and real world assets. And they're positioning themselves as, I suppose, a sort of digital gold standard in the making, if you like. And then, of course, we have the Genius Act. I'm sure you've seen that, David. A law recently passed in the US that regulates these stable coins. So what it really looks like, you see Trump with all the fanfare saying we're never going to have a state-backed CBDC. Well, Tether is a CBDC in all but name. It's a privatized version of a central bank digital currency. It can be just as manipulated, just as tracked, just as controlled. And I think that's the back door for a surveillance-heavy digital currency system that's coming. So, yes, they're buying a lot of US debt. they're also buying a lot of gold. Now, they're buying just as much US debt as a small country at the moment. Nobody else wants that debt on the open market. They know it's useless. So a lot of people, if you've got a tinfoil hat on, are saying, well, is this just an attempt for the US to get all their debt stuffed into this digital currency? When the time's right and everyone's using it, then, of course, they can revalue it against gold, and the price of it will go through the roof. So
to me, it just sounds like there's no point in having this tether. I know it's the third largest cryptocurrency there is if you look on cryptocurrency valuation sites, but it's backed by the US dollar. It's one-to-one with the US dollar. It's just another fiat currency, which is digital. So you're tracked, as you say, in everything you do with it. You can't actually, give someone some cash or buy something anonymously with it, which is, which goes against the whole idea of cryptocurrencies as they were marketed immediately. And
exactly.
if you want real value, you should go for gold. I think I would I'd take my money out of fiat currency and put it in gold rather than in tether on the blockchain. I think that's a far better idea.
Absolutely. But it's funny to see how these digital currencies are using gold as a real world anchor for their digital ecosystem. It's why, if it's so fantastic, why would you need an old relic, like you said earlier, David, to back it? So it looks like gold really is going to become the foundation of this new monetary system. They wouldn't be buying it at the rate they're buying it, more than China, if they didn't plan on using it and backing the digital currency with it. So yes, there's going to be a remonetization of gold at some point, and silver too, because obviously the unit currency, which is obviously China and Russia's new currency, they're backing that with silver as well. So it just worries me that they're going to try and take as much of it as possible, and they'll have complete control over the lion's share of it, and then they control the entire economy. So people need to decentralize. They need to get it in their own vaults in Switzerland or London, take delivery of it themselves. And then they're in a position of autonomy and control when the market resets. Yeah.
You do a lot of work and you give a lot of information to people about how to buy gold tax-free, because there are tax implications of this as well. And so what can you say about that? I mean, if someone here is thinking of doing it, what is the best way to do it so that the government doesn't get their dirty hands on some of your wealth by inadvertently by you buying something where you could buy something else?
Well, yeah, it's one of the last tax-free forms of private investment left now, David. And that's because bullion coins are considered legal tender. You can't tax the flow of currency in the UK. So as such, all the gains that you make are devoid of capital gains tax. Of course, it's also VAT-free gold, but with silver, you can only avoid the VAT if you keep it in Switzerland, in Zurich. But a lot of people are even asking to keep their gold out there now, because this budget on the 26th is on everybody's lips. The amount of people I've got calling up saying, how can I get it offshore? How can I protect it? Is there going to be a wealth grab? There is no bounds as to how far they're going to go in terms of tax rises and wealth grabs. So even if you're not storing it offshore in order to avoid, legally, obviously completely, but even if there's no tax incentive, most people just don't even trust leaving it in the country at the moment. I've seen over 250% increase in the last 3 months of the people actually taking their gold that they've got in their possession or in their vaults and keeping it in Zurich, just because of that geopolitical diversity as well. So yes, it is tax-free, which is a rarity in this day and age, because that's becoming quite a scarce commodity.
They're trying to tax everything. Like I think you alluded to this wealth tax that is being discussed and that is being thrown out there as an idea, which I think is horrendous. We've never done this in this country in my lifetime, and that would just drive everyone away from the country. I think it's a horrendous idea.
Yep, absolutely. And there's talk of an exit tax as well. So if you actually want to up and leave, and you know what, you've started a business, you've successfully want to get out and go, I don't know, wherever it might be in the world, we're going to tax you on those unrealized gains. How they enforce that, I have no idea. But the mood music that's coming out about this budget it's scaring a lot of people, David, I have to say. There's just so much uncertainty with the economy now. Surely they want to be attracting success rather than pushing it away. But hey, that would seem like common sense.
that is common sense, but you're not going to get much common sense from this government, you know. I think everyone's realised that now. But look, you're doing a great job, you know, in what you're doing. Obviously, you're a businessman. You run the Gold Bullion company, the Gold Bullion Partners there. Where can people find out about you if they want to get in touch with you and find out more and maybe even buy gold themselves?
Of course. So they can use your link, David, underneath the video here.
Yeah.
You'll come straight through to one of us. You can give us a call. You can email us as well. You've got Nicholas at goldbullionpartners.co.uk. That's my direct email if you want it. Or you can just email our accounts team. And yeah, please, if you are interested, give us a call. Whether it takes an hour, 2 hours, we'll give you as much guidance as you need. And if you feel comfortable getting some, please just dip your toes in and get a tiny bit just to protect against what's coming at the moment, because God knows where we'll be in a couple of years, David.
Yeah, I know. Well, I hope we will be on the road back to recovery, but we don't know with this government that we've got. And, you know, obviously you're doing a great thing in finance. I'm trying to operate in politics as well to give people an opportunity to restore our nation and get away from the craziness. And there's other people who are acting in all kinds of different areas as well, and who are watching the video too. So, you know, hopefully we can all work together. But, you know, in the immediate future, I think you would say it's a good idea to have a little bit of gold, to have a little bit of precious metal, just to make sure that some of your wealth is protected in value. And it's a very good thing to do that.
Yeah, there's light at the end of the tunnel. I hate seeing everyone get so down and it's all doom and despair. We will come out the other side and things will change. It's just how much damage are they going to create and how much misery are they going to put people through? How do you protect yourself against that so you can sit back at night, sleep tight and think, okay, I'm protected. Doesn't matter what happens to the banks or the economy. I've got something there that actually exists. It's going to go up in value. So there's certainly room for hope, if you like, out there.
Indeed, yeah. Always keep hope. Otherwise, you know, you're not going to have any. Well, we always hope, and so I'm still here. You're still here in the UK, and we're still fighting for a better day. So it's great what you're doing, Nick. Thank you so much for joining me and telling me and everyone watching all the latest about precious metals and the gold market and what people can do to protect their finances. Thank you so much, Nick.
No, it's good catching up again.